My name is Sarah Omar, and I'm an assistant professor in Arabic and Islamic Studies here at Georgetown University. I'd like to welcome you to our new series where you get to meet scholars and hear them discuss their intellectual journeys. My guest today is Dr. Walid Saleh, professor at the University of Toronto. You can find his full biography on this page. Dr. Saleh, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I really am very honored by this opportunity. Thank you.
So I'd like to start by having you tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you to your areas of research. I think sometimes we forget the humans behind the writing, and so this is really an opportunity for us to get to know you a little better.
So I always, when I look back in my career, I'm always surprised how serendipitous it was and how many major turning events were chances and things I never thought about. So it's quite sobering. So I really started my career as an Arabist. My undergraduate degree was in Arabic language and literature at the American University of Beirut. And I studied, you cover all the fields, like the history of literature, the language, classical, pre-Islamic, modern, right? And I really was very much lucky because I studied with major figures in Arabic studies at the AUB, primarily two, Professor Ramzi Baalbaki and Mohammed Yusuf Najm. And then I also took a lot of history courses, and so I did my undergraduate, and then I did an MA. But the MA back then was really this long 5-year. So basically, you take 2 or 3 years of courses, and then you have to write a thesis, right? So I took all the courses and started thinking about the thesis, and I was very interested in Arabic lexicography and the history of the Arabic lexicon. But then as I was, so in my 3rd or 4th year in the MA, I got accepted to the USA. And actually that's where it gets interested. I got accepted to 2 programs. One was Texas at Austin, and one was at Yale. Texas at Austin, I would have ended up studying linguistic and Arabic grammatical history. At Yale, it was totally new field. It would have been Islamic studies. And really the decision, was basically more about money, who gave more stipend, right? So I decided to do Islamic studies. Now, so I arrived at Yale, and I was pretty much determined to do Quranic studies, the Quran proper. So I started taking courses, and then I was reading all about the Quran, and then I remember vividly the time things all changed. So I was reading a source book on folklore in either Islamic studies or the Quran. So it's like a source book folklore. I forgot, it's 2-volume thing. And then in the midst of it, the author mentions Tafsir al-Thalabi, the Quran commentary of al-Thalabi. And then he says, oh, this is really, a major Quran commentary that hasn't been edited, and it's massive. Now, you see, I came to Islamic studies from Arabic studies. And in Arabic studies, the whole narrative was the rediscovery of the classics, but also the editing of the classics, right? So the whole Arabic Mahada and the whole Arab nationalism was heavily invested in rediscovering, the Torah and editing it and publishing it. So I was under the illusion that all the great Arabic books have come out, right? So then you come to Islamic studies when you realize, back then, 35 years ago, really, that's all. Most of the tafsir was still unedited, really. So somebody as major as Thalabi had not been edited. So that's then and there, I decided, okay, I'm going to shift my topic. It's not like I deserted the Quran. I will continue to work and publish on the Quran, but really I decided, okay, if I really want to leave an impact, it's going to be in tafsir, and the journey started. So now, luckily, and like, both the goods and the bads of back then is that you really, because it was an unedited work, I have to learn on my own all the Arabic paleography. And this is before people started giving like workshops and small courses, introductions, etc. So I have to learn the hard way. And this was before, you could order things or the internet, or it still was microfilms. So there I was, so it was actually a great opportunity to get to know the whole field of Arabic paleography. But then, so that's how I ended up in Tafsir, really. That's how I ended up in Tafsir. And
Well,
then the rest is history, really. Yeah.
no, that's fascinating. Thank you so much for that. I guess one question that comes to mind is, given the scope of your scholarship, what types of questions have you asked over the course of your career, and how have those questions evolved over time?
Yeah. So because of like back when I started, the tafsir was still an incipient field, which is not the case now. Now it's like one of the biggest in Islamic studies. So there were like two problems that I have to deal with at the same time. One was like the historical narrative, like in a sense, what was like who was who, what was, the second was just simply a hermeneutical, intellectual history. So what was the approaches, the concerns, right? So in a sense, and I was always betwixt between the two. On the one hand, you want to write a narrative of like, what was happening. On the other hand, you want to go into the details of the nitty gritty, what is happening in a certain Quran commentary, right? So these were like the two major like issues that I tackled. Um, and I realized early on that really like the narrative presented to us in Tafsir was, you know, very limited because it really placed, it was individual based, it was romantic in the sense like, the stories of these heroes, like so the Makhshari or Razi or Tabari, but there was no narrative about Tafsir. Like we didn't know, like, you understand, what is the relationship between the Makhshari and Tabari, and like how did the field end up? And then you discover things you wouldn't know. Like, so Tabari was always presented as a constant in the field. He wasn't. I mean, in a span of 1200 years, 1400 years, authors come and go, reputations go up and come down. So there is like like a whole history of tafsir that is beyond the title of books, right? So that's really where. So I started a long engagement with the manuscript tradition of tafsir because in a sense that which has not been published. So Thalabi and then his student Al-Wahidi, but that's not true now, everything is. And then, continued the attempt to answer these two questions. Now, as you're working, you come onto discoveries that you weren't aware of. So like two of the major like things that like really propped up in my work that I didn't anticipate was one was like what I've called Islamic Hebraism, which is basically at what moment Muslims started using the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament in tafsir. And then I came across the Qa'i, which is like 15th century Cairo. So that was a major development that I saw. That's when I really my second monograph was a study of the whole phenomena of what I call Islamic Hebraism, like the use of Muslim of the Bible. And then I became very much interested in the whole subfield of the Bible in Arabic, but also the Muslim interaction with the Bible. So like through my work, I find myself all of a sudden interested in another like related field that and that was a great intellectual story, like experience for me. Now, the second major issue was really the discovery of the Hawashi. And by that, I say I came, as I was finishing my first monograph, I became keenly aware all of a sudden that there is a whole subgenre of tafsir that have completely been deleted, in a sense, from the narrative, which is the hawashi on, there are three major like tafsirs that became like textbooks, but I really concentrate on two. So basically, by the 12th, 13th centuries, tafsir became a topic to be taught in madrasas. And very soon, professors settled on a textbook, which was Zamakhshari Kashaf. And very much like us, they wrote on what they were teaching, and the scholarship manner in which they published their studies was like commentaries on the commentaries. So Hawashi ala Zamakhshari. And this wasn't just like a minor like subfield. This was a major event because all the major intellectuals were writing, engaging in the Hawashi. And then in the 10th, 11th century Hijri, we have another major shift is that instead of the Makhshari, Kashaf, madrasas shift to Baydawi, Anwar, Tanzil. And then we start having another major. So actually in the last decade, really, I've been trying to like really cover, like unearth the Hawashi. So that's really like the key question. Now, another key question is like, intellectual centers. Like, for example, there was Nishapur, but then by the 14th century, Cairo becomes a major center of tafsir. So why? And how did that happen? So I've moved like little by little, I'm moving to social intellectual history in a sense, trying to understand why at this moment Cairo becomes a center. So hopefully I'm having an article on that topic. Yeah, so that's really some of the issues that developed through my career.
I look forward to reading that article. So one final quick question, and maybe a follow-up to what you've already covered, is how have your approaches or methods in addressing these questions, how have those changed, given that the fields that you're working within have also changed?
It's actually a very, so I really think like some of them like more exciting things happening in tafsir are happening now in the new generation. So like there's a lot of questions being raised by so the social function of tafsir, its relationship to like modern issues, the whole gendered approach to the history of tafsir. So all of these have been like a very, very exciting developments that are happening. And as a matter of fact, like now you can't really keep up with the developments. Like there's really like all of a sudden what was like, a very minor field is now like a major field. But also, and that's I think where I think like I try to in a sense keep my knowledge of what is being published and edited in the Islamic world and Arabic world really up to date, because the developments are happening so fast that we are in a danger of missing up what is happening and not keeping up with it. So it's actually a very exciting time. Like I actually I feel a bit like embarrassed, because the first 10 years of my career, I would start every article by saying, oh, what a deplorable state we have, etc. Like, oh, all the manuscripts are not, you can't say that anymore. I mean, every year there's new editions, new works coming out. Like young scholars are wading into the field with new theories and new approaches. So it's actually a very exciting moment to do like the whole field of hermeneutics and Quran commentary. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being such a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. You take care now.
Thank you.
Bye.